advocate really quickly, only because we have a special guest this evening, Tazima Paris, and we have a lot of new subscribers. I'd like to go around the room as quickly as possible because you know the chat is quite impatient. Our lurkers are quite impatient. I'd like to go on around the room. Everyone introduce themselves, let people know where to find you and what it is you do, and let's jump right in. Let's not leave the people waiting. I'd like to start with our special guest this evening. She was actually in that comment section of where I pulled this topic, and she just came in with the boom, 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 boom. And I said, I like you. Please join us. And that is how we are here. So please, Tazima Paris, let the people know who you are and where to find you. And welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it. I am Tazima Paris, sex coach and pleasure mentor for grown-ass women. I am here to take the overthinkers, the overgivers, and the overachievers to a place where they take themselves from the bottom of their list to the top so that they can show up more awesome and have more orgasms while they're doing it. So talk to me. I'm here for it.
I'm liking this already.
Okay, this is how we're starting on Monday, baby. This is the block.
You can reach me on the Instagram, Tazima at Tazima Paris. I'm around. There are not really that many Tazimas out here, so you'll find me.
Right. All right. Thank you. And welcome again. Lily, let the people know where to find you. You had an excellent stream earlier this evening, Lily's Lessons. I loved it. Let the people know where to find you.
Thank you. And it's blowing up. I just checked before the show and the comment section's going crazy. So thank you all for the support.
As it should.
So I'm Lily Washington of YB Limited, the way to spell here on the screen or here on the screen. And that is the letter Y, the letter B, the word limited. You can find me here on YouTube as well as Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook.
Music producer and musician Heron DeMarco. You can catch me here on YouTube as Heron.DeMarco. You can catch me on IG as Dangerous DeMarco, and you can catch me on Spotify and Apple Music under Heron DeMarco.
I am No Saint. You can catch me at Saint No Saint on YouTube and on Instagram.
All right, and that is the panel for this evening. The topic tonight is, does modern dating lack honesty? Does modern dating lack honesty? Okay, as you guys saw the thumbnail, and as you come in, please hit that like and subscribe for mama. You know, that is currency on these networks. So tonight's topic, here we go. Should daters admit what they want up front? Should daters admit what they want up front? Yes, that is a woman kissing a money man. Okay, now we see and hear a lot. A man's biggest complaint: women only want money. Women only want money. Women complain, men only want ass. Men only want ass. There seems to be a glitch in the matrix. We've heard this for decades and decades and decades. It seems both sides know what the other side wants, but they're constantly fighting it. Why is that? We're going to dissect that tonight. We're going to explore that tonight. Does modern dating lack honesty? Before we get into it, Tazima, you are new to the panel, so sometimes we have fluff, sometimes we don't. Lily has some fluff for us tonight, which is basically a small story before we get into the meal. So what's our appetizer for tonight, Lily?
Well, the appetizer comes off of the heels of a lot of buzz last week. Steve Harvey was all up in the blogs, okay? Now, I was getting little things popping up about the young lady that is on his show who does, hold on, let me get the name real quick. So basically, there's a young lady that's on the show with him, on the Steve Harvey show, the radio show. And it's kind of a convoluted story, but basically her husband went to jail. There was a scandal. So she was going through her own personal scandal. She was doing the whole stand by your man thing. So she was calling him while she was accepting calls from him while he was in jail. One day he calls. She's having a bad day at work. She's venting to her husband about Steve and Marjorie. And that was last October. It got leaked last week. The same time all of the stuff was being leaked about Marjorie, right? So Steve took it as a hate train on him. That's one part of the story. But the lady who got caught saying what she was saying, she took it as she was really embarrassed because she was having a private conversation with her husband and she was just venting. Now, let me tell you what she is actually said. When she said to her husband as she was venting, she said, Steve was winded walking up the stairs anyway. That's one thing. The other thing she said is that Marjorie thinks that we're the help. That was the second thing. Though, and she came on this morning. They addressed it on the radio show. She apologized to Steve. She apologized to Marjorie. Steve reiterated that first he said he forgave her and reiterated that he felt like it was a hate train against him and not Marjorie because he just found it very odd that both stories came out in the same week. So apparently, someone paid off someone from the prison to turn the tape over to the blogs, and that's how it got to our ears. So my question is, what do you all think? Do you all think this is like, oh my God, I can't believe she did that? Or do you think like, okay, co-workers, like, we all work together. Co-workers can get upset with each other and you're going to vent. And you would think your spouse, your bestie would be the people that you can vent to. And you don't expect those conversations to be leaked. So
Yeah,
I
this is
told
me.
hold on. I would like our guest to chime in first. And listen, I'm all with it, right? I know that Lily and Haran and No Saint probably text each other like, if Jen texts me one more fucking time today, one more fucking time. It happens.
right.
It absolutely happens. Tazima, I'd like you to chime in first. What say you?
I mean, a lot of this sounds like drama. And when I say drama, I'm just really talking about people like stories that are grabbing and he said, she said kind of stuff. I don't have an opinion on the timing or whether it's a hate, campaign. But the main thing is people need to talk about stuff. And we have chosen folks with whom we share our ideas. And sometimes people break the trust, and sometimes it comes out in a really whack way. And sometimes people's feelings get hurt. And I think at the end of the day, we just got to fix it on the back end the best that we can. And so, yeah, mostly, I don't think we should not share stuff that we have going on with people, because one of the main issues that we have in interpersonal relationships of all types is people withholding what is going on for them. So yeah, but
Good point. Good point. Haran DeMarco.
Well, it's a nothing burger. I
Mhm.
mean, it's like okay. It's like if it's like if something leaked right now and I hear Jen talking shit about me, I'll be like, oh, okay. Like, she probably
Well,
said the shit to me actually in a moment we were arguing. So it's just like, okay.
correct.
Okay. So it's after a while, look, man, after a while, when people work together for a long time, you become this family unit and you start behaving like a family, and people get cliquish with others. It's family shit. People feel closer with others, and if they got an issue with one, they vent to another, and so on and so forth. This is a nothing burger. This ain't like somebody set up
Right.
somebody to get killed for insurance money. This is not something that deep. You know what I mean?
Although Steve did mention someone stole millions and millions of dollars from him, and Marjorie Harvey, you know what I mean, she was that ride or die. I think their story is really, really interesting because he made sure to say today, listen, I didn't have anything but my name when I met her. She got in the foxhole with me. She helped me build it up. And I absolutely believe him, right? That woman has a lot of swag. She's very determined, right? We know her past. She's dealt with hustlers. She's has children with hustlers. So she has that street background. Although she's a very attractive woman, she has that background. She's no wilting lily. I'll say that. So I think that she saw Steve Harvey and she saw potential, and the potential is real. Let's just put that out there, because a lot of men are like, oh, she was his ride or die. The man had a name and had potential, and she was like, oh, I can clean this up. This is my forte. This is what I do. That's different from a lot of you guys who want a ride or die. So don't get all excited like these women exist. You still have to be a certain type of man. I agree with you, Tazima. Let's sip that tea on that one.
I
Okay?
agree. I mean,
Sip on that one.
there has to be a difference between you're looking at a fixer upper and then you're looking at a lot with absolutely nothing on there. Ain't shit
Right.
with weeds and shit blowing. You know what I mean? So I get the understanding.
Okay.
And the other thing I want to add on too, with the whole venting thing, the the other reason why I don't feel like it's an issue as well is who she was venting to. She was venting to her husband, or like if it was your bestie, or someone else in the friend group. But it wasn't
Right.
like she was venting to Steve's enemy
Or
or the
TMZ.
blog or TMZ or something like that. So like, child, that was never supposed to hit our ears. Period.
Right. I agree. And also, if you're halfway smart, you know that when you vent to your spouse, it's a little melodramatic. We've all done it. Like we talk to our friends differently than when we talk to our spouse. Be like, do you know what happened at work today? And I'm sure, I am positive, without a doubt, I'd bet my life on that Marjorie and Steve talk about the entire staff. They do it too. I guarantee it. They're the bosses, so I know they talk about it. No, Saint, what say you?
I mean, I pretty much agree with Haran. I work with people all the time. At one time, I used to, if I would hear somebody had said something about me, it used to kind of bother me. And that was when I was young, you know. Now I just realize that if you live with amongst a bunch of people, people are going to talk, whether it's about me. I mean, everybody does it. They vent. Oh, I don't like the way this person, you know. And same what you're saying, like when you vent, you just need sometimes to blow off steam. I don't think it was any big deal, really. But yeah, I agree. It's just like kind of the normal thing.
Yeah. So I think, Steve Harvey's rant was basically Will Smith's slap, kind of like, keep my wife's name out your mouth. I'm tired of hearing that she's a gold digger. I'm tired of hearing, all of that. So I think that, it was wrong. That I think it was nice that he defended his wife. That's what a husband should do, right? So shout out to the Harveys, all of them. So moving on, chat, what say you? And this is a great segue, as a matter of fact, seeing as they always call Marjorie a gold digger. It's a great segue to the main topic tonight, okay? The main topic tonight. Does modern dating lack honesty? Do women love money? And do men love booty? So just so everyone is up to speed, let me read to you the post that inspired tonight's topic, okay? That Tazima and I jumped in on. And we were like, hold on now. We rolled up the newspaper and said, hold on now, Corey. Wait a minute. Okay. So Corey, good friend of ours, Corey Hendricks, he is an actor, okay, an actor, and more than Tubi. He's an actor. He's doing this thing out there in Hollywood. He said, ladies, if you want money for sex, say that. No reason for us to hang out, vibe, drink, smoke, and then you want hundreds of dollars before intercourse. Girl, bye. You could have just said, pussy is $300 when we met. Stand firm in your prostitution. Yeah, he said that. Yeah, he did.
Oh, strong words.
I thought so.
Under those circumstances, it ain't even necessary to even have that kind of conversation. Just go to a professional.
What do you mean? Can you elaborate?
Just go to a prostitute.
Mm-hmm.
If you're waiting, if you're worried about hanging out and so on and so forth, if you just want the ass, then just cut all the middle bullshit out and just go find a prostitute. But you're not going to do that because you don't want just ass. You want companionship. You want to be around someone. You want to get to know someone. Why don't you just say that then? Mm-hmm. You're not being completely honest with yourself. I know dudes who just want ass. They just go to prostitutes.
This is true.
You know what I'm saying? They cut out the headache. They like, yo, I'm not doing all that talking and shit like that. And they go to prostitutes.
Mm-hmm. And salute to those gentlemen.
Religiously. So if you're sitting here barking and angry because in the casual world, you have to go through those hoops. Well, you don't have to go through those hoops unless you want more than ass. Be honest with yourself, or else you're going to continue to frustrate yourself. And I'm sorry to tell you, damn near everything costs $300. You know what I mean? These days, brother. Down to groceries, down to your phone, down to Uber Eats fucking delivery. Everything costs at least $300 fucking. So you better get used to that.
Okay, Haran. So you said you should be honest. Hence the question: does modern dating lack honesty? Tazima, what was your POV? Can you share with the people what I saw that turned my little light bulb on? I was like, who is this woman?
Yeah, absolutely. So what I have found is that a lot of what men are requesting, and I see in the comments, there's a not all men. We haven't said all men. We haven't said all women. We're not making some, not all, thank you. and so, yes, acknowledged. And the thing is that men often want someone to clean, a housekeeper. They want someone to cook, a cook. They want a lover. They want to have sex with the person, but they're only willing to offer like a few like really whack text message inquiries and maybe a dinner. And I'm saying, you know, like, so if you're doing one word or acronym text, WYD, and you're expecting like someone to show up really high quality, like that's asking a lot. I'm just saying. The other thing I wanted to say about the original post is that the word prostitution, stand on your prostitution, that word wouldn't be an insult if modern humans were okay with sex.
Oh,
that wouldn't be an insult. Just
hallelujah.
Just like Aaron said, with the go ahead and pay for that, you know, having been in the polyamory arena in that community, often people are looking for another person to play with their partner, with their main partner. I'm like, you can pay someone instead of trying to ruin someone's life who's actually polyamorous, and you want to just bring them in to have some sex with them. Y'all need to be honest, and let's demystify and take the shame and judgment out of paying for sex on both sides, by the way. Not those who receive, sex workers who receive money, that is work. They have a job. It's not like they're just out here doing it for money and everything's cool. It's an sex work is extremely dangerous. They should be getting paid, and they're professionals and they do their job. And so I say all that to say, if we are more honest about what we actually want, we could have some real adult conversations. But many people are not ready to have those adult conversations. They just want what they want, and they just think other people should step in line with that. And then they complain on the internet.
Right. So you know what? I want to piggyback off of what you said, right? That's what I'm noticing as I get into these internet streets and have to scroll through these topics. The biggest thing that I'm noticing is that like folks are wanting the most for the least amount of effort, right? And so the biggest complaint that I'm hearing from women, right? Because this is so weird to me that in 2023 we're still going through what I'm about to say right now. There are a lot of women out here that don't care about your ring, they don't care about your marriage, they don't care about your commitment, right? They are open to poly, they are open to open relationships. But their biggest complaint is that the men are not being honest from the jump to say that that's what they want. Mm-hmm. So I'm thinking, is it a thing where they're fearing that that's not what the woman is going to want, so they tell her what they think she wants to hear instead of the truth, right? Because chances are she's going to be like, okay, cool, all right, let's do it, or not. But the biggest thing is I can't stand when people steal people's choices. That's a big thing for me.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And let me just do a PSA here. Coming into polyamory from cheating and then calling it polyamory, there's a lot of people out here who are cheaters and got some new vocabulary. So let's not.
I tell people that all the time. A lot of people when they say polyamory, they just want to cheat in peace. You know what I mean?
That's not what it is. Polyamory is a highly skilled practice of relating. You need more relationship skills to actually show up as a polyamorous person rather than less. These people stops.
Interesting. So thank you for the super chat. YouTube Press says complain. Who? Me? So I want to ask this question. No Saint, you are married, correct? What do you think about, chat and panel? What do you think about when someone says, hey, you're going to pay for it one way or another, even if you're married, you're paying for pussy? What do you think about that?
I just think, listen, I think people throw that prostitution or paying for it thing around way too loosely. That's like say, okay, so if I wasn't married, I wouldn't have an apartment or a house that I'd be paying for. I wouldn't have food I have to pay for. I have, at this point I have kids. I wouldn't be paying for my kids to eat or go to school. I mean, so it's when you're married, it's much more complex than just someone saying, oh, well, you're paying for it anyway, because that's just cheapening what the woman's role in the whole relationship is. Because at least as far as I'm concerned, a woman most of the time takes on way more responsibilities than a man takes in a marriage when it comes to taking care of things, taking care of kids, taking care of the house, working a job as well. So I hate when people say that, because it's far from the truth.
So let's go back to the original post, because it is loaded. It's layered, right? He said a lot. The end, the last two sentences, you could have just said, pussy is $300 when we met, stand firm in your prostitution. A lot of people ask for honesty. I hear that all day. I just want somebody to keep it real. I just want somebody to be honest. I just want to keep it real. I've kept it real before with people. It didn't turn out the way they claimed it would have, you know what I mean? And then when they've kept it real with me, I said, I did a post last week. You can keep it real with a woman. Say, hey, this is what I want. I want to date you, or I want to smash, or whatever. But you have to be able to keep your cool if she declines, right? I'm glad that you're honest. I want an honest man. However, if I decline, you really have to keep your cool, right? And I noticed that people don't keep their cool after they get that honesty they claim they wanted. So if Corey, let's say, for instance, met a woman and she's like, hey, and he's digging her, he's feeling her, like the guys say, right? I'm really feeling you. I've been hearing that all week, by the way. I'm really feeling you. I'm really feeling you. Everybody's blind who's trying to date me. I'm really feeling you. Everybody's feeling me, right? So let's say he's feeling a woman, right? And she's like, it's $300 for this pussy. Would he be okay with that honesty, or would he go running to Facebook to vent? Are people okay with the honesty?
He wouldn't be okay with that honesty, because then she's a 304. See, human beings are very strange. Our species, we give us everything. We'll sit here and we'll complain about one thing, we'll get it, and then we'll complain about how we want the other thing back again, which is a very strange species. Trust me. If tomorrow women were completely honest and say that, hey man, before you jump in my inbox, the pussy is $300, motherfuckers would lose their ever-loving mind and talk about, hey, ain't no good women around. Why do they want us just for money? Blah, blah, blah. There's no companionship, yada, yada, so on and so forth. So, again, this comes down to people being honest with themselves. Oh, my Vegatron made a very good comment right here. You think no. He made something along the lines of, he was talking about relationships. Anyways, yeah, my trolling aside, people are immature. They date and marry shallowly. They have a real partnership in mind. They have a very hollow vision of what a real healthy relationship is supposed to be. And that's absolutely true. And you can't really get to that point of understanding what a solid relationship and a healthy relationship looks like until you have a solid relationship with yourself. Again, being honest with yourself.
So in my little bit of research, I mean, there are literally articles on why women like money. True story, I'm not kidding. There are articles why women like money, what to do with women who like money. To live comfortably, it's natural for a woman to prefer a man with money because together they can afford to live a better life. There are things like, why do women just want to spend money? Are women most attracted to money? Money, 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 money. Can a woman love you without money? There's a lot of emphasis on money. I wish there was more emphasis on making money, but there seems to be a lot of emphasis on why women want money, like money. Just on the surface, in layman's terms, why do we think women like money?
So let's back it up, because this is a lot of what I deal with in my practice, in my coaching practice of people in relationships. It's like we really have to recognize that our brains and our personas and how we show up in relationship is based on how it was when we were out here hunting and gathering in these savanna and cave streets, before there were streets, before there was our modern society. Our brains developed in that thing. So one thing that we were needing was literal protection from the saber-toothed clawed beast in the bushes. Okay. We needed that because we have these babies that we don't want to die, and we can't actually gather and get all the things we need. We need a team. So one, we're social creatures. We're working that angle. Two is the men who were rewarded were the ones who were both risk takers and caring enough to not eat the meat in the field and bring it back to the crew, back to the group, back to the community. If he ate the meat out in the street, okay, and didn't bring it back, he wasn't going to be favored. Okay. That's resources. He has resources and skills. Take that to modern day. That's the filet mignon dinner by candlelight around the fire. It's literally the same stuff. So what we want is that security for the babies. Also, the reason why our brains work in a way where we're like thinking 20 steps ahead is because we're not about to box with the bear. That's for the dudes. I'm not saying there aren't women who can't box with bears. There absolutely are very strong, beautiful, wonderful, strong ladies. Awesome. I'm not talking about that. But if you have an infant and a toddler and y'all are rolling in these streets, you need to be able to gather up all that stuff so that that's why we have the cross linkages in our brain, so baby don't die. Okay. The dudes have I need to take care of myself so the crew don't die. Okay. So these things, these baseline pieces are not about money, cash per se. It's the translation of the value of the thing they need in order for their life to work. And Lord knows everybody needs a little more today than we needed 20 years ago, when one income could give you a house, or 30 years ago could give you a significant house where you could raise a family on one income. That is not what's happening right now for most people. So like, let's be real. It's not about your cash. Also, men are not the equivalent, by the way, is men wanting young women who are not young for young's sake, but it's the value of the women is that beauty and the hourglass figure. That's literally our brains seeking the partner who's not yet pregnant and is young enough to make a baby. Okay. If she's too old to make a baby, you can't make more humans. Okay. Right. So let's take it on a the brain biological desire level. We have to consider that. So looking for that beautiful, hot, curvy woman, that's literally about making your progeny in the world so that your line doesn't die. That's these basic things. So why do the men, when they get a lot of money, they look for the younger girl? Not because they can keep up with that younger girl, but that's what their brains are saying. Come on, get that, because you want to pass on this line. So I say all that to say these are general ways our brains operate. Everyone has a slightly different perspective about what they want in the world, but it's important to be clear about what it is that you actually want. And then doing that personal growth work enough to be able to be confident enough to say the thing, because what we actually want, what matters to us, it's very vulnerable to share. And there's a vulnerability in dating. So it's a lot.
Right. And I want to say, hold on one second. Not money, it's power. Don't get it twisted. No, it's money. Money gets you power. It's not just plain power because you know, for lack of a better term, Pookie and Ray Ray could have power because they're bodybuilders and they just got, you know, they just got out of Rikers Island and they really built and they got power on the block. However, little Jeff Bezos could pay to delete that whole block. So it's about money. It's not just about power. You can't have power without money. Not in this country. I don't know about somewhere else, but here you need money. So I don't have it twisted at all. I will take that filet mignon. Okay, I do like that, and I will, and I will
With the
also say
champagne.
hello with the champagne. Give me the filet mignon with the champagne. Also, I want to say, you know, you touched on, Tazima, when people, when men have money, they want that younger thing, and it's kind of like an innate thing. You also have to make sure that what you want innately still matches the times, right? Because these older guys want these younger women. They impregnate them. They're not young enough, you know, they don't to run around with these kids. They're not young enough to keep up with that woman. You know what I mean? So there's a lot that doesn't match that men are still talking about. It's nonsensical today, right? Haran, you were saying.
So, ladies, you saying that, you know, back in the days of hunter gatherers, are you saying that, you know, the guy who was like, you know, the hunter that was like, you know, a really nice guy who, like, you know, but he wasn't that much of a risk taker, and maybe he caught like maybe 2 goldfish a week?
What I'm gonna do with a goldfish?
How we gonna get her back on your bed?
He's a nice guy, though, right? he wasn't passing on his gene. He got some crunch berries and some goldfish.
Yeah, that was it. That was it. It's a wrap.
But we look at any other species, especially primates, right? And humans are the only species on the face of this planet that tries to defy nature, and it goes, "What's wrong? Why am I not getting what I want?" We're the
ladies,
only ones.
One second. I just want to say, so ladies, you're admitting right here, right now, that
wait a minute now. I don't know what. Wait, hold on now. Let me hear what you got to say.
I'm asking the question.
Okay.
Are you admitting that women want some concept of an empathetic savage?
No, I will listen. I grew up around a very tyrannical father.
I was about to say.
Okay, we all survived, and we survived well. Now, did I hate it when I was growing up under his roof? Absolutely. Looking back, I thank the universe that man was my father. I thank the universe that he was rigid, and I even thank the universe that he was tyrannical. We didn't end up on a pole. We didn't end up on drugs in the street, right? So I would sacrifice empathy for the provider and protector my father was, because he was stellar at both. Not so empathetic, not so sympathetic. Rigid man, but I take that. So no, I don't want the empathetic guy with the crunch berries and the 2 goldfish. Not for me.
I have a
go ahead.
No, I have a question for you, actually. I think you broke it down beautifully as far as like what the nature of humans are in the past and everything. My question is, like, do you think that the men are having a hard time because what has happened is it's not the biggest, strongest person that necessarily gets the most resources. Now, intellectual people can get more resources and they don't have to. And so I think it lets a lot of people feel left behind, because the muscle up here is, if you have it, is very powerful, right? And I just wonder what you think about that.
Yeah, so I was listening to something recently about the economy of all things. And they were saying that the person who was speaking was talking about our current like financial crisis and all this. And it speaks to exactly this piece of like part of what gave sort of your crunchberry 2 goldfish guy. I love this guy now. He's official. What gave him the capacity for the mediocre dude to actually get a partner was being able to have a middle class. The middle class is what actually created more opportunities. And right now, so we had a massive, during the Industrial Revolution, we had a massive expansion of the middle class. And now we're having a shrinking of the middle class again. And we're ending up in this similar situation to where like it's only the rock stars who have their choice versus, you know, the middle class guy who doesn't have the opportunity. Is actually the person I was listening to was an author about like where men are going, the lost men, and like men aren't dating and men aren't engaging, and you know, those pools are the source material for some of these very dangerous human beings with guns who are, you know, doing upsetting things to a lot of people. And so I say all that to say, at the end of the day, each human being has to make their own way. And my recommendation to the mediocre dudes
Uh-oh.
here
Uh-oh.
is to don't despair, improve yourself. Like don't get into this circular thinking and self-reinforcing thought pattern of like, it's never going to work for me, or like there's no chance for me, I don't have X, Y, and Z. If you're true and awesome and honest with your goldfish, and you can fillet them joints, and you can find someone who love a beautifully presented goldfish with a side of crunch berries and perhaps
grilled onions on them fish.
I think sadly enough, I think I've dated that guy.
No, but
Put grilled onions on the goldfish, Jenny.
listen, I think she makes
he filleted him though.
to bring it back to what I was saying though. I think you make great points, and not just that. So now, because you can make with your mind, you can make a lot of money. Women have suddenly are able to compete in that arena. And I think that's what I was getting at, is that a lot of men are feeling left behind because their strength or their hunting capabilities are no longer the most important thing anymore, because women can now compete just like men in certain worlds like tech, programming. You no longer need the muscles to, as
well,
much.
No saying. I think that's very, very prevalent when in groups like the Red Pill and the Manosphere. A lot of those guys are brutes. A lot of them preach workout, testosterone, TRT. You know what I mean? They're all about and the dyed beards, right? They all got the beards and the dark shades, and they're like, yeah, those women. And I think that's why they've resorted to seeing as, oh wow, we're not as popular as we used to be, like the Mark Zuckerbergs and the Bezos. Well, let's shame women. So now they're saying women shouldn't vote. Now they're saying women should be Christians. Now they're saying if you're not feminine, fit, and friendly, you're no good. And I think they've resorted to shaming women because they know they're on the way out, right? And the guys that could compete, even the nerdy guys, now they can compete. So it's like, what do? We got all this beard dye left. What do we do? Let's shame the women. That's what we'll do. And that's where they're headed. So it's interesting that you say that, because you're right. Like the necessity for my dad isn't as much now as it used to be. Right.
But see, you know what? I think they liked you for the first 15 minutes of the show, but then you start making too much damn sense.
Yeah.
Because what I heard you say was pick within your pool. Like stay in the kiddie pool. Don't be over in Jeff Bezos' pool. Leave his pool alone. You ain't got no business over there because you not bringing where Jeff Bezos is bringing. You can't swim like him. So stay in the kiddie pool. But the kiddie pool guys want to be over there with Jeff Bezos. And then instead of learning how to swim and building up to that, they use that energy to bash women. And that's the part that I just don't understand. Like, I think not just for men, but this can go for any of us, that there should be a time when you take some time out and work on you to make yourself a better, suitable candidate for a healthy working relationship. You know,
really? That sounds like common sense. What are you doing in 2023?
About to get cussed out by the chat and some people.
What are you doing? Welcome, George Cook.
Oh, sorry.
Well, hello.
I will say
Good evening, everybody.
About your dad. Using your father and my father, yeah, they were brutish, they were tyrannical, but they were also intelligent. So the pivot for them wouldn't have been that difficult. They probably had to tone down a couple of things, you know what I mean? But the pivot wouldn't have been that fucking difficult. We all know, when coming from certain areas, we all know people who are just as, capable in the brutish arena, just as capable in the intellectual arena. However, not a lot. You know what I mean? Most of the time, it's either or. You know what I mean? But that combination, I will attest that no, that is a very paltry number. There's a very paltry number of people who wear that combination very well.
Well, we have some gentlemen on the panel. How do you guys feel about, listen, you meet a beautiful woman, she's like, hey, I like you, I'm feeling you too, but I'm about my paper. Would you mind, you know what I mean, exchanging power? Right? Fair exchange is no robbery. Would you automatically think she's a prostitute? Like Corey said, stand firm on your prostitution. Would you automatically think that she's a prostitute or she's about her business? How would you look at it? I know you guys are more mature than the average. That is why you're on the panel. Chat, you can answer this too. But how would you feel about that if we come to an age where it's like, no, you got to pay for this, buddy? Okay.
I grew up in the music industry. That's a regular Saturday night. Let's just call it what it is. That's a Saturday night, man. So that's my answer.
Yeah, Jen, admittedly, when I was younger, I would have been put off by that. But having matured, grown up, kind of accepted some laws of life kind of thing, I don't think there's anything wrong with that, in the sense that she's got a right to have the expectations she does. And if I get a chance, our guest panelist, I can't remember her name, sorry.
Tazima.
Okay.
Yes.
If I can ask her a question, Tazima, the ladies that you counsel and work with who are high earners, have you noticed or even talked to them? It's kind of like one thing I've noticed is that women naturally want a man who makes as much as them, if not more. Okay. It's just natural. That's the way it's been. But as they get higher and higher in income, there's almost like a catch-22 that happens because the pool of eligible men shrink. So this is a real quick question, or a question is, how do you coach them or give advice to them on how to balance out? Because you don't want to tell them and say, well, darling, you need to stop growing your business, your multi-million-dollar business, because there just ain't that many dudes out there for you. Or how do you handle that? Or have them kind of like, hey, you need to have maybe clearer expectations or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah. So a couple of things. One thing I want to clarify here is women wanting men to make more than they do is not necessarily natural. That's something that has been socialized in to be put in the place of other things that we valued. Because money is a thing now, there's a role that you're supposed to fulfill, and then
thank you for pointing that out. Yeah. Okay.
And so in this situation, because many of my female clients are the breadwinners in their families, so even the ones who are married, they make more. One of my clients has a stay-at-home husband, and that's the way that he does the kids. She does the work. So all that. And any woman, any person can attract someone for themselves. I don't believe personally in scarcity. Yes, the dating pool can get smaller. Yes, the eligible people can get smaller. And this is the rub. Whoever you attract is resonating with you. If they're on your frequency, they're showing up. There's something there for you. Like, people are like, oh, that person is a terrible person, or my ex is a narcissist. Well, guess what? Something in you was resonating enough that person showed up enough that y'all could have a relationship. So that's the main thing that I coach them to do, is to get clear on their needs and desires. What do you need? If you really do need that person to make more than you got to change where you're hanging out. Go to the place where those people are. Be the baddest ass woman that you can be when you show up at that location. Amen. I promise you, being turned on, you don't have to look like a 20-year-old. I don't look like a 20-year-old. Don't want to look like a 20-year-old, and promise you,
Yeah.
Even with my glasses and my like nerdy awkwardness, I be pulling people like
Yeah.
I don't. It's not necessary. Like I'm not pulling them to be pulling them. I'm not even doing it on purpose. Me showing up as authentically myself as I can is an attractive way of being. And the more that you show up in that way as a woman, you're going to attract people. People are going to be like, what's up with you? How you doing? And then you get to choose.
Right.
When you have a clear idea of what you desire, what you need and what you desire, if someone's not matching that, you hold your list over here and then you see what's coming over here. And then you compare those joints.
Right.
The tit for tat, not the pros and cons list, but is it an energetic match? This is something that I teach inside of my practice. And then you get to decide if that dude is getting, or whomever is coming is getting a 70%. Well, guess what? That's a C. If that person is not coming in at an 85, 90% match to what you need and desire, you're going to be frustrated. I don't care how much money they got.
Right.
I don't care.
You're right. And what you just said is really gender neutral. It applies equally to men as it does to women. So, but yeah.
Oh, go ahead, George.
I'm done. Yeah. Thanks for answering my question. Thanks. Go ahead, Jen.
Okay, so Omar Vegatron said, and this is interesting. He says, the real response will be, can you give me a copy of your whole facts so I can be sure everything is in order? Then I'll be back tomorrow to see what kind of deal we can work out. So had she given you the pussy without charging you, she wouldn't have been a hoe. But if she asked you for money, she's a hoe. How is that logical? So free pussy is good pussy. Pussy that's charging is whole pussy. So she can be ran through as long as she's not charging. But if she's charging, then you need the whole facts and you got to work out a deal. Where's the glitch there, people?
I'm sorry, man. We just a little bit too old to be worrying about who a hoe and who ain't.
I'm serious.
Like, what are you doing? That motherfuckers is like 40, 50, 60. Like, who are you gonna tell if she a hoe? Who you gonna tell? The student body? Like, who are you gonna tell? The best you gonna tell is your dog and your fucking friend. Like,
I always wonder who that information is for. But then if you let the red pill tell it, they feel like a woman can't pair bond if she's had a lot of partners. What do you think about the pair bonding theory?
Lies. Pair bonding is a bunch of BS. Human beings are not naturally monogamous, period. I don't care what anybody says. We're not naturally.
Bring her back, please.
Oh, please bring her back. Thank you for somebody for saying it.
Pair bonding,
I said that.
The pair bonding myth is something that has been sold to women because men have taken ownership of women's wombs. That's why this abortion conversation is even a thing. It's because the productivity of the wombs is going down if there's abortion. And that's what these people care about. It's not about women. It's not about babies. It's not about unborn children. It's not about the health of the mother. It's not about the health of the baby. This is all of that. Can we just stop? Because human beings, are not naturally monogamous. We are a social group. Some of the reasons that we have as big brains as we have is so that we can remember the deeds of the people around us, so that we can have these social interactions and we can remember who did what and be in community. And if you weren't trying to make human beings monogamous and people were honest about the things that they were doing, and I just want to be 100% clear, I am not an evangelist for polyamory or open relationships. I'm not. You choose whatever you want to choose. But what I'm saying, the reason is that monogamy is hard is because it's not natural for us. And all of the animals that they claim we're monogamous, just like this pair bonded animals. They do not have sex dimorphism, meaning the male is bigger than the female. They don't have that. And we don't have it in such a big difference as, for example, gorillas. For example, our primate cousins, gorillas. the dude is way bigger. The male is way bigger and the female is way smaller. But guess what? Also, his penis is really small. Why? Because he will beat your ass so he doesn't have to fight you. Human beings have the largest, thickest, longest penis of any mammal for the size, relative to size. Why is that? It's because we have sexual sperm competition, not physical competition. That's the other thing that lets you know that we're not monogamous. The shape of the penis head is designed to vacuum out competitive sperm. That's what we're talking about. And if we didn't put judgment or shame on this, we would realize that the female sexual vocalizations are our mating call. It's like, woo, I'm having a good time over here. Hey, come on through. This dude is going to be done in a minute. Next one, line up.
And that's why we hate.
That's why you heard the lady and not the dude. The dude is.
Excuse me.
Yes,
what are you doing for the next 4 years for presidency? Just asking if you. I don't know. But
I want to.
Ladies, hold on. Ladies and gentlemen, that is Tazima Paris. For everyone who's going to ask me, who was that woman on the panel? Tazima Paris. No, Saint, you were saying?
No, I was just going to say, I also read, it's been a long time, but I read that if a male suspects that his spouse is cheating, that they will actually, the sperm that they create will actually compete. I don't know if there's some kind of chemical warfare to try to wipe out the other sperm.
Yeah,
it's
I read the same.
There are literal attack sperm. There are attack sperm.
Yes.
Soldier sperm. That's literally, it's their job to kill other sperm. Also, this is fun. This is a fun one. The mama always knows who the daddy is. The egg chooses the sperm based on her body becoming friendly to the one she likes the most. She always knows who the daddy is. And the only
I love this.
The only reason she wouldn't be is she's completely out of touch with herself, which many of the people who end up on these shows, paternity test shows, they're completely out of touch with their bodies. But the mama knows.
The white Denzel in the chat, he says salute to Jen for having the most corny white boys ever on her show. Well, let's see what happens if you come up, the white Denzel. Come on up here. You can have the who's the most corniest contest.
Yeah.
Ron, were you saying something?
Well, I was just saying that basically hatred and war begins in the womb.
Oh, okay.
Well, not in the womb. In the vagina now. Not in the womb. Whoever's in the womb already won, but in the vagina.
Well, I was just saying in the sense of competition and in the point of what the context of what we were saying in terms of competitive sperm and so on and so forth. I'm not saying like it's a one-on-one situation. I'm talking about in terms of competitive sperm. You know what I mean? And, you know, human beings, we're competitive. As a matter of fact, Homo sapiens, we won because we are the most competitive of all of the humanoids prior. We outfucked the Neanderthals. We killed them. We ate people. We did all kinds of shit. That
so
is
what do you
it
think
is.
Okay, is when we're talking about humans, not the monkeys, who I love very much. You guys know how I feel about sad monkeys. When we talk about humans, when we procreate, right? People are like, it's best to have a 2-parent household. Man, watch your mics, guys. To have a man and a woman together to raise that child. Do you think that is a temporary survival thing, but after the child can fend for itself, the two human beings naturally separate or should separate? Like, what do you think about that? Like, when we procreate, well, it's best to have mommy and daddy together. If we are not naturally monogamous, then why the fight to couple up for the survival of that child?
No, that was the concept of monogamy. That's what it was brought. Essentially, the idea of monogamy was the reason for, you know what I mean, coupling and raising children and the system of it, you know what I mean, so on and so forth, as much as my understanding is. You know what I mean? I don't think we are Prior to that, no, we're not naturally monogamous. You're shaking your head, man. I mean, do you have more? You know, I mean, something.
Absolutely.
You rebuttal against it. Hey, you're the expert. Go ahead.
Not against it. It's that it goes beyond just the parents. It's the village.
Oh, okay.
The nuclear family is an invention, really, of European, like modern, somewhat modern European people to create this isolated nuclear family unit that, because of finances, they're able to pay for the things that the village would do. The village.
Wait, when you say European, I just want to interject really quick. When you say European, do you mean what?
I mean European, of Europe. So this concept of the individual family unit of someone living in a building or in a small hut or whatever, and y'all just are on your own, or you're farmers or whatever, that idea of just the mother, the father, and the kid is a European idea, not an American idea. This is before America existed. I'm saying that unit. And then in America, it became, especially with this, and I would say more English, not even European in general. I would say more English. Mm-hmm. But anyway, they had a whole thing about, like, don't even hug the children. It's terrible. Anyway, mm-hmm. Psychology, y'all don't, mm-hmm. People was bananas.
Yeah, I think you're talking about the Puritans on some of that.
Yeah, just bananas. Anyway, so but coming to America and then having that middle class thing that happened when one person was able to now pay for all of the things, everybody got isolated, and this ideal of just this one family unit should be able to take care of everything. It's not true. When we think about what we really need, it's the aunties, the uncles, the whole family, the cousins, the lady down the street, the other people that you knew from the neighborhood or your village. Okay, it takes a village to raise a child. I don't think that has changed for us. Yes, so to have the married unit dissolve, absolutely not. I don't think it's good, but I think there's too much pressure on the married unit to be, or the coupled unit or the parents to be everything for each other, for the kids, everything for. No, we need humans. We're social creatures, and we forget that because we get so focused on this hustle and grind and wanting to be, everything. And it's just not.
So what do you think about modern America? Like, people are constantly threatening, hey, with more gay people, coming out. They've always been here, but just for the sake of entertainment, with more gay people coming out, their feminization of men, sexual fluidity. Well, that's going to break down the American family. What are these children going to do without a 2-parent home? So how do you answer that when people are like, hey, if you break up the family, you don't have mommy and daddy living together, these kids would be wayward. These kids are going to be doomed without a mommy and daddy at home. And then you got the statistics. Well, children with 2-parent homes do better. What do you say to that?
Bigotry is breaking up the family.
Yep.
People being broke is breaking up the family. Okay.
That's breaking them alive.
For real. Let's be real. Let's be real.
Ain't no money out here, man.
and people not feeling like they even have options. That's what's breaking down families. Or people not showing up because they're hurt, because they don't have emotional outlets. People being harsh and terrible to one another and having ridiculous expectations of this other human that is not even possible for them to show up because they're still dealing with their drama. The reason I'm saying all of this is because I see the effects of people's early childhood in their current relationships. People are dealing with abandonment that they had from when they were 12 and 9 and 4 and bringing it into their current relationships with the person that has nothing to do with the pain that they have in their past. The breakdown of our relationships and these, it's not the gay people. Quit blaming it on the gays. Gays are just like Black people are just trying to stay alive and not dead. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
They're not threatening anyone's marriage. What's threatening people's marriage is lack of opportunity, lack of the capacity, emotional capacity to deal with intimate relationships, and the lack of capacity to actually actively move into a family situation because they're confident financially. Like,
I love that. And the proof is that people can hate each other. And if that man got money, that lady be staying. Don't the lady be staying when the man got money? The lady be staying in that marriage, right? And it's so quick for women to be like, you know what, financial difficulties, I could do what? That all by myself.
By myself, exactly. So I want to go back. I want to go back to the village thing because that's super, super important. I don't want to overlook that. Because that's my mindset about things. So when I hear these stupid arguments, I'm like, they're missing the whole point. It's going right over their head, right? Because if mommy and daddy breaks up, it's still important to have that village. Like that's my story. My biological parents broke up, but we had the aunties and the neighbors and all of that stuff. Still do, right? It's just, and I come from a large, close family, and I know what that has done for me. So and then I went through a period in my younger adult years where I wanted to be a parent, I thought. And then when the time came that I had the opportunity, I did some soul searching. And then I realized, like, that's not what I'm here for. I'm actually here to be a part of the village, right? That's not my ministry. When I really got honest with myself, because a lot of people don't get honest with themselves about their reasons about why they think they want to be a parent. I like the idea of parenthood, but really I just want to play dress up. Okay. So I felt like, that's what fun aunties for, to play dress up. And, you can tell fun aunties stuff that you can't tell the parents, but fun aunties still going to pretty much tell you the same thing your parents told you, but in a more palatable way. And you're going to hear it from me better. So I know the importance of that, right? And a lot of people don't understand it, and that is really what we're missing more so than the marriages breaking up and stuff like that. We're missing the village. So I'm glad you brought that up.
I want to say also, going back to what you said, Lily, you said you'd like the idea of being a parent, and then you came to your senses and you were like, no, that's not my ministry. I think that happens more often than not with women who want to be wives and men who think they want to be husbands, right? And then they get together and it's like, oh, tradition, and let's do this, and then let's have babies, and then they're living miserable and they're tolerating this other human being because they don't really want to be there. They're not naturally monogamous. I agree with that 100%. I don't care who it pisses off. That is how I think. I even had to come to terms with that with myself. I'm like, Jen, why every time you're in a relationship, you're like, but I wonder what his mouth do. And I wonder, and I'm like, it's not like I learned his behavior because my mom and dad, I never saw my mother with another man ever. I don't think she would have dared, put it that way. My dad was really tyrannical. And I always saw them together. So I didn't see promiscuity. I didn't grow up in a single parent home. My father was very, very present. We were a very tight-knit Puerto Rican family in the South Bronx, you know what I mean? So, but I was just like, this isn't normal. Why is it such a fucking struggle? It's a fucking struggle because it's not normal. That's why. So it's a struggle, right? And I always found a way to act out and get out of it some kind of way. I was like, okay, I want out. And some people call it self-sabotage. I'm like, no, I want out of this. You can call it whatever you like. I just want out of this. I don't feel comfortable in this. Not all the way. It doesn't feel natural. And I always say to women, I'm like, you like the idea of the ring and the dress and the party. You forget it comes with a whole husband. Now you have a whole man that you're living with that you're not so interested in taking care of the way he would like to be taken care of, how he traditionally thinks a woman is supposed to be taking care of him. I'm like, it's a mess. It's a mess of humanity. It's a mess. Haran, you were saying?
I was watching a YouTube stream today. It was a music stream, and some guy came up. He was talking shit in the chat to the host. But anyway, long story short, he comes up there, he's chopping it up with the host. In the middle of it, I guess the host asked him something personal. And in the middle of it, this motherfucker starts crying. I shit you not. This motherfucker starts, tearing up and weeping. And I'm sitting there saying to myself, like, I don't know this guy's story. I didn't want to tear him up, but I'm saying to myself, there's a lot of broken people out here, man, dealing with disillusionment issues. When I say disillusionment, a lot of people had a vision of their future when they were younger, or maybe they bought into a particular idea. And when they realized that on the other side of that idea wasn't the life that they thought it would have been, or they never achieved it, so on and so forth, they have given up on their lives. Or some of them may feel trapped, or some of them may really truly feel like it's over. And instead of sitting down and dealing with those feelings, what do a lot of these people do? They lash out because they're angry at the world, because they feel that they listen to the world instead of listening to themselves. So they're blaming all these external forces for the choices that they made themselves. And these people bring this nonsense on YouTube. They bring that bullshit into the streets with armed weapons. They bring that bullshit into, the corporate world. There's just a lot of broken, sick fucking people out here, man. Period.
So I wanted to grab this really quickly. It says, being monogamous, also one of many methods of keeping danger and craziness away from your home. And I have a statistic here: for every 100 U.S. men who kill their wives, 75 women kill their husbands. So I don't know. That's a bit crazy, right? Yeah.
Right. And I'm glad you brought up that, because actually my healthiest, best relationship was a poly relationship. So, I mean, but going back, because he must have went to the bathroom when you said this. You said earlier, if you're going to participate in a poly relationship, it takes more skills than a monogamous relationship. But I kind of knew that was going to go over some people's heads. So I'm glad that point was brought up so that we can.
Devil's advocate. Oh my Vegatron follows up with, I don't think any good comes from having a revolving front door, especially if you have children. So what say the panel in chat about a quote unquote revolving? I don't even know what that means, but a revolving door.
I'm going to speak to all of that. Okay. Number one, in order to be in an actual mature, healthy, polyamorous relationship, you have to have high quality communication skills. And most people don't. You have to be clear about what you want and what you're expecting, and then actually say that. Most people who have marriages, and I want to mention the thing that you said there, Jen, as well, is that if the danger is inside the home, you can be married all day and be in danger. Okay. The crazy can be at home. And because of the way that women bond, because of estrogen, literally that oxytocin, estrogen enhances the bonding hormone oxytocin, and it will keep us chemically bonded to the person who is our abuser, because we've had sex with them, because we've had orgasms with them, because we literally can't leave. Oh, you should just leave if they're abusive. Literally, women can't leave. Okay. And I'm not saying that it's only women that can't leave. There's men who can't leave, people of all gender. So it's not about polyamory doesn't equal a revolving door. Many polyamorous people, these are assumptions that people who are monogamous, who don't have any information about polyamory, make assumptions and projections about what's happening in polyamorous relationships. And I'm not saying that every polyamorous person is completely responsible, because they're not. There are also cheaters in that community. But just because someone is polyamorous does not mean that they have a revolving door. It does not mean that they're being irresponsible. They're probably more responsible with their children and more protective of their children. Because, by the way, there's a lot of monogamous people who got touched, whose friends touched their children. Okay, so let's not get up on our little pedestals and say, oh, well, what you're doing is bad. No, there are people who are following the rules, and the danger is in the house, or the danger is in the family. Okay, so let's be really honest about that. And so what is needed more than anything else is really people learning how to be clear with their emotions, learning how to actually communicate their expectations or make requests I want this. I would like this. This is my preference. I don't like this. I prefer these things. Or this is a hard no for me. I can't, I don't, if you're a woman who doesn't cook or you're a dude who doesn't cook, say that. And if the person that you're with doesn't cook either, then y'all need to talk about getting a cook or some kind of meal plan. Do you see what I'm saying? You got to start having a conversation about what we actually need and want in our relationships so that it can be a conversation rather than a bunch of assumptions. Because most people who are married, most monogamous people are working on a script. They haven't.
Oh my God. I mean, that's a perfect description, because it's like the wives do and say and talk how they think wives are supposed to do and say. Husbands do the same thing. I always say that your best friend knows your spouse better than you do. Hands down. He's going to tell his boy what he really thinks about the marriage and about you and what he wish he had and what he wishes you would do. And we are going to tell our girlfriends, girl, I love him, but the sex isn't good anymore. I love him, but oh my God, we're losing a lot of money. She's not going to tell him that. Like, people claim, adults always claim, I'm a great communicator, and if I have something to say, I'm going to say it. Bullshit. You're going to tell your friend. You don't tell your spouse because you don't want to hurt their feelings, because you're already involved. And to me, it's disgusting. A lot of people say, I married my best friend. No, you didn't, because I know more about your husband than he does. And you know it, sis. And vice versa. His boys will know more about his wife than she does. But I love how you said
so
they're
with the
off a
side
script.
chick. So with the side chick.
They're off a script. They're literally off a script. We get married. Let's do the same vows that we've been doing for centuries and centuries. Though it doesn't apply to us and our financial status and what we're going through. Let's just say in sickness and in health, for rich or for poor, till death do us part. It just sounds like a bunch of robots, and hence the infidelity rate, and hence the divorce rate. Here we are.
Right. The side chick knows more about the husband too.
Of course.
But
of course.
I just want to say that, polyamory isn't a nonstop sexual orgy. Like,
I know everybody thinks it's like this big,
not like after you're done with one motherfucker, you go Uber over town to the next person, and then you Uber back, and then you Uber here. Like, that's just not how it works.
Next, I'm polyamorous.
Yeah, that's really just not how it works. And honestly, monogamous people, I got a lot of fucking advice for motherfuckers who usually either your spouse kills you or you end up divorced and broke 50% of the time. So a lot of you need to really just chill out.
I just say it's rare. Two people getting married that can last for, it's very, very rare. There's a lot of tolerating that you have to do. And I don't want to live like that. I don't want to live a life where I'm tolerating another human being or putting up with things or have to compromise, because, marriage is compromise. No, fuck off. I don't have to compromise if I live by myself. Right. And that doesn't mean that I don't adore men and love the company of men, but I don't want to have to tolerate anybody ever. That's why I quit corporate America, because I don't have to tolerate anything or anybody. But when you talk like this, men are like, nah, she for the streets. And no, you're for the script. That's what's wrong with you. You're for the script. That's what it is, sir.
Tazima,
I just want to say this one piece is that longevity ain't shit if you tolerating. I don't care. I don't care how long you can be together forever, but if you tolerate it, what do you really have?
I'm so glad you say that, because people always want to use that as a flex. Like, but they've been together I'm like, are they happy? That's the real question. Are they happy?
And your parents and grandparents were together forever because she couldn't have a bank account. She couldn't have a credit card before 1973.
Yeah, that's deep. And I noticed that's a huge flex along with this on Instagram, the ring. Like, it's a huge flex. We were like, we've been, and I'm a people sponge. So I'm always, before I came to this, before I had this epiphany, I was constantly asking couples and trying to find the secret. And, what's your secret? And I've never asked a couple. I'm sure you guys know great couples, whatever, but I know in my little survey, my own little mental survey, someone would always roll their eyes or giggle like, girl, it's hard. And I'm like, no, see, I don't want that. I don't want hard. I don't want to have to tolerate. I don't want to have to forgive someone who violates boundaries and all of that. I don't want that, just so I can be able to say, we've been together 50 some odd years. No, you can have that. You can have that. It's just not attractive to me. And I'm just speaking on me. I know some of you want to get married 50, 60 years and tolerate someone. I do not. It's just my thing. I don't want to tolerate anybody. Life is too short for me to be tolerating somebody. And it doesn't mean that I can't have an amazing, fabulous time traveling, hanging out with my friends, raising my children, my grandchildren. That doesn't mean that, but I'm just not going to do it. I refuse. I will not do it. I will not give my life to tradition. A tradition I had nothing to do with, by the way. I'm indigenous. That has nothing to do with me. Those vows have nothing to do with me. That man and woman forever, that has nothing to do with me. Nothing.
Tazima, I got a real foundational question. I'm familiar with polyamory. I think I know what it is, but to be honest with you, as a monogamous person, you know, I've got different conceptions. Can you just take a few minutes to say, this is what a healthy polyamorous relationship looks like, and then this is what it's not? Because, like, I'll just throw this one out and you can take it as, like, you've got the husband and wife. In fact, I was on one of these dating sites, and the woman said, look, my husband has ED and this, that, and the other. He doesn't want to do anything about it. I want a boyfriend, and you're going to be exclusive to me. And so this, that, the other, and, you know, that kind of thing. And I thought, okay, well, it's kind of, but it was like the guy isn't going to know. Is that technically polyamory, or that's just cheating, or what is it? You know, because I have a feeling that you hit on it a few times about people have different misconceptions about what it is and all that. So just, if you don't mind.
Sure. So I would say the hallmark of polyamory is overt agreements. Overt agreements, not covert agreements, not like, you know, they should know what's up. That's not polyamory. Polyamory is not cheating with a reluctant agreement. Okay.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Many people say they're polyamorous, especially right now that polyamory has been a conversation that's up, and it's, you know, it's this and that, and we're finding out these XYZ celebrities have polyamorous relationships or open marriages. It's not where you have cheated and then you say, well, I'm polyamorous. No, you're a cheater because you did not tell the person that you are with that you were about to have some sexual relations with someone else. That's cheating. Okay. So in polyamory, people have different agreements. I'm in a few polyamory groups, Facebook, and, you know, other communities where people talk about it, and there's always like a newbie in there being like, oh, well, I want to do this, that, and the other. And people are you polyamorous, or are you really polyamorous? Because that's not how this goes. So what it is two or more people agreeing, this is what I'm going to do. This is what you're going to do. There are monopoly situations where one person is polyamorous and the other person is faithful and monogamous with that person. That does happen. But those people there's consent and there's an actual conversation about it. There are situations where people have agreed or consented to be don't ask, don't tell. It's not my personal preference, because I personally just feel like I actually want to know who these people are if I'm in that situation. And I'll even say this, is that although I identify as a polyamorous person, I am in a monogamous relationship. So there's also that piece of it. There are people who are polyamorous, but for example, they had a child and they just really want to focus on just raising that child. They don't want to introduce new people, or they want to cultivate their family, and they're not trying to do that. So it's not like like always acquiring new people, or like, and then there are those people who have a bunch of human beings and they are circulating themselves between all of those human beings. But the difference between sort of the misconception of what polyamory is and the actual fact of polyamory is that or actual practice of polyamory is that there are overt agreements. People are actually saying, I want this, I want that. And it can be anything. And some people's polyamor doesn't even include sex. It can include kink activities, or it can include going out to movies. You can have your movie date person and y'all are non-sexually having a relationship. So it's not the continuous orgy that people think it is. And some people have orgies. So
I get it. Yeah, what you're saying. Okay.
But married people, I mean, jumping orgies and swinging and that whole other thing.
Right.
I wanted to go back to something that you said, Tazima, because there's something I preach too. I feel like another reason I think why monogamy is doomed, because it is too much pressure on that one person to satisfy you for the rest of your natural born life, right? It's a lot of pressure on one person because you change, right? We're not the same today as we were last week. You change as the years go on. Then that other person, took the vows with you and you took the vows with them in sickness and in health, for rich or for poor. Well, maybe I didn't like you. Maybe I like you only when you're rich, not when you're poor. Maybe I don't like who you are when you're poor. Maybe I don't like our interaction. Maybe I liked you better when you were healthy and not sick. Maybe as a sick person, you don't represent the man or the woman that I married. Maybe I wanted to marry that hot guy or that hot girl, and now you've gained a lot of weight and you're not the same person. In my eyes, physically, sexually, emotionally, you're just not that same person. And not just because aesthetically what I'm looking at, because you're a different person when you're poor, or you're a different person when you're sick, or you're a different person when you're overweight. And I always say, if you're going to get married, you must update the vows to something that is more realistic, as much as it hurts. Look, I love you like this. If you change, I should have an out, because that is real. But no one wants to talk like that. People want the fairy tale, the Cinderella. And it's funny that women get blamed a lot for the fairy tale, but that is what men want. They want to fit, feminine and friendly. They want a religious, some people, and they don't want her to waver. They don't want her to be attracted to anybody else. They don't want her to want any other dicks. Yet 50 Shades of Grey is $1 billion franchise. Someone's buying the books and someone's watching the movies. Who do you think it is? It ain't me. Okay. So who is it?
Jen, let me ask you this question. This is a real life example. I don't know if you know who Newt Gingrich is. It really doesn't matter if you don't. Okay.
I do.
All right. So he's married. His wife gets cancer. You may already know the story, but.
No, I didn't know that.
Okay. His wife gets cancer. I don't know if she was on her deathbed, but anyhow, she's sick. He goes out, finds a mistress. I think it was one of his secretaries, classic thing, younger, the whole bit. And he goes in and divorces his wife, leaves his wife for this lady while she's sick. In your view, just your opinion, I know this is just your opinion. What do you think about that? What's your take on that?
Okay, I've said that before. Actually, there's nothing wrong with a human being wanting a thing for themselves. It hurts. Yes, it hurts. But it also hurts because we grow up, we're raised and reared to think that someone is supposed to put a ring on us and love us forever, right? So when we grow up with that belief and someone, quote unquote, betrays us or changes their mind, what do? We crumble. No, you were supposed to love me forever. But listen, if I ended up, let's say I was married, universe forbid, I'm in a wheelchair. My man is like, oh, damn, I really liked when you used to do the hydraulics thing on me. You can't do that anymore, Jen. I need to move on. I understand. With my maturity and my wisdom now, I understand. And let me tell you something. I'm not saying that because I'm a tough guy and I'm not going to feel it. I may be like, God damn, but Jen, you did say, you know what I mean? That is life. That is real. So I don't look at Newt Gingrich or anyone else who wants to leave somebody.
Right. He was just an example. Yeah.
Right. Because a lot of people do that. Right. And we get shamed. Women especially get shamed for leaving. Men, not so much. But women get shamed. You're supposed to be a ride or die. She left you after you lost your business. She left you after your dick didn't work no more. How dare that? What we get shamed for that a lot, but it's a human thing. You're just not the same person the person quote unquote fell in love with. So no, I don't see him any kind of way. I think that's human, and I've said that before. That's why I don't believe in the forever. I just
So
don't. That's why I love the first 3 months of a relationship. Aren't they, darling? Those
So
first
I
3
want to,
months.
so the
with that,
divorce really, Lily, real quick. It sounds to me like, Jen, what you're saying is that marriage probably was over before the whole cancer thing happened. It was just the cancer. The cancer was just the feather, if you will, that was used to knock the whole thing over. In other words, it was already going down, and then the cancer hit, and then a combination of factors came in, and he's like, "Boom, I'm out."
And you know what, George? Maybe it wasn't.
maybe
Maybe
exactly.
maybe it wasn't over, but a lot of people are not built for adversity and trauma and drama. It's not. It's not. It's like, whoa, I can put up with a lot, right? My friends have been shot. I've wiped asses because they couldn't do it, and it was on IVs, and I'm, cleaning babies and helping other people with their babies, and I'm built, what I mean, Bronx tough. However, a woman who may have grown up in Yonkers, soon as one of her friends got shot, she's like, whoa, hey, yeah. Not me, not my life, not built for this. Should we shame her? Should we say she's not built to ride or die? Right? Everybody's not built to push somebody around in a wheelchair. Yeah, we scroll Instagram and we see that woman who stayed with her husband after his legs got chopped off, and we get a warm feeling inside, don't we? We're like, oh my gosh, his whole face is gone, right? His whole face is gone, and she's kissing the skull. Oh my God, look, oh, a warm feeling, right? But that is that individual. What happens is we see that and we think, oh, that's what I want for me. It's not realistic. It's just not realistic. And it's okay that someone says, oh, I liked you when you had skin on your skull. It's okay. It's okay.
Yeah. Well, I think the one point you just made, y'all been making, is the scripts and stuff like that. I think that's something that probably myself, we all need to review, because we're all, to a certain extent, we're all operating under some kind of script, that society, parents, whatever, religion has put on you and everything. So yeah. All right.
I mean, even as much as I love my daddy, I love my father, but even the things I thought were good about him, like I had to grow up and think, Jen, is this you thinking and talking, or is this your father thinking and talking? So when you grow up, you have to shed. I always say adults happen to children. Right. Children are born as blank slates, and then adults happen. Beliefs and religion and what they did and their traumas. Hey, my man left me, little girl, so you better blah, blah, blah. So your man doesn't leave. And then we grow up, and the lucky of us start shedding that shit, right? That adults put on us. And we're like, no, I don't believe that, Mom. Or I don't believe that, Auntie. This wasn't me, Dad.
Yeah. I got you.
So to your point, Jen, I actually made a statement in my video earlier about belief systems, because that's why belief systems are so funny to me, right? Because people have these belief systems that they hold to their chest and they're like, this is my belief system. And I'm like, bullshit. This was a belief system that was given to you. And how do you know? Because if your ass was born in Turkey, if your ass was born in Japan, if your ass was born in Iraq, or if your ass was born in Compton, you will have a totally different belief system than you have today. Right? So that's why belief systems are very flexible, right? And for people to be rigid with them is insane to me. It's complete insanity to me, right? Yes, George, to your point, I've spent the last 15 years deprogramming myself. And the way I look at it is like, you have this bag that was given to you from your parents and society. And it's our job when we become adults to go through that bag every now and then, right? Pull the items out and look at it and re-examine it, and like, oh, this is outdated, gotta go. Or, oh, I was wearing this as a skirt, I can wear this as a top now. Like, that's what people are not willing to do, right? They just hold on to this stuff that is outdated. It's not working for them. They're not even looking around to see it's not working for the people around them either. Right. But with that, I wanted to introduce something, because based off of what we were just talking about, I want to know what your thoughts are on the L word in relationships?
I
What
don't know
is
what the
love?
L word is. Oh,
Love.
we had a whole
We no, we
was
did.
dope.
Yeah,
We
that
had
was a
a
dope
great, we
string.
had a great, but before we go into that, and then we're gonna close, soon. We're gonna close soon. Thank you so much, everyone who's in the room. Please hit that like and subscribe for Mama. Please follow the people on the panel. Do you know following and liking and subscribing is currency? Okay, let me put down the banner so you can see everyone's name and contact people directly. Thank you so much, James Oko, and welcome back to the block. For the super chat, James Oko says, the kids raised in these new hookup culture households, will this have an effect? Will this make greater men? Before we answer that, because that's a great question. Before we answer that, I want to say also a shout out to the mothers, the single mothers, whatever you want to call them. I used to be super judgmental about mothers as well. Okay, how dare she? Not well, how dare she dump her children? How dare I was super judgmental. Why? Because I was a mother very, very much attached to my child, right? And how could you? Like, look at these animals. Animals are better mothers than some of the women I know. But again, what I said before applies. Some people are built, right? Tough for certain things. And some people are like, oh, I just procreated. What is this thing? I don't want it, right? But that's how some people are and aren't. Before we get into the love word, because I think that's a great way to end, what do we think about James' question?
I would argue that there aren't that many great men now. I would question that. Like, what is a great man? Like,
Because we've had a lot of love, right? Because we've had a lot of love, and
listen, look, I'm not talking about the cliches, the what is it? You have to 6 figures, 6 feet, or whatever the fuck it is, whatever the list is, the high value man, or whatever it is. What's your level of loyalty? Do you keep your word as a man? How married are you to the pack? Because great men aren't married to the pack. Great men stand up to great men stand up to the pack. A lot of you don't stand up to the pack. You're afraid of being ostracized by the pack. I've seen many a great men walk alone. How many of you can actually walk alone and stand on yours 10 toes down? It's bigger than just a lot of superficial things. It's who you are as a man. It's your resilience. It's your ability to, how dependent are you on yourself? You know, if you can be thrown in the wilderness, can you make your way back? And that's where I stand on that. And the last thing is this: truly great men arise and arrive during any time in history. Because trust me, there were far more fucked up moments in history than this shit with hookup culture, and great men arise. Okay, so this little hookup culture shit ain't gonna destroy, you know what I mean, the opportunity for great men to come forward.
right, I agree with that, because the hookup culture is basically, people think it's new, right? I just think it's circling back, but whatever. Let's just entertain the people. They think it's new. So that means if the hookup culture is new, that means that we've had non-hookup culture. And look around, okay? 40 and 50-year-old men, you know what I mean, screaming and crying and stomping on the internet in droves, in millions, not taking care of their children, not being entrepreneurs, not being independent from the man. And those are the men that were raised on love and not hookup culture, because mama and them stayed with that man forever, honey. So, right, when you weigh it, Tazima, I saw you nodding your head on this question.
Yeah.
What say you?
So one is that this is an oversimplified statement that is fundamentalist in nature. And when I say fundamentalist, is that the definition of fundamentalism is that it was better before, and we have to get back to how it was before.
MAGA.
We are living in a myth about how things were before.
Thank you.
Hookup culture households is not even a thing. That's a myth. If you're hooking up, you're not having kids. And if you are having kids, and part of the reason that there's hookup culture in the first place is that people aren't being honest about what they want in relationship. I mean, it's all back to, are you actually communicating what you want? And even to go back to what Jen was saying about relationships and marriage and kind of you didn't say this word, but the conditionality
Mhm.
of the marriage contract or the agreement.
Mhm.
But I teach monogamous people how to be as clear in their conversations about their relationships and expectations as polyamorous people are in the best possible way. I'm helping folks with skills to have a higher quality relationship and higher quality communication by being honest about what they want and need. So this myth about hookup culture, what effect will this have? The effect will be that some people will have sex and some people will have kids, just like they have been for eons. All of those times when people were supposedly so, faithful, again, there's a financial aspect to that faith. Women couldn't have bank accounts, so they literally could not leave. They could not own property. You could not, as a woman, have property in your name. Okay. This is a major challenge to people. That's why our parents and grandparents stayed together. So let's not oversimplify this conversation. Let us have the difficult conversation of, hey, this is actually what's happening for me. I'm actually dissatisfied. This is what I'm looking for. Let's talk about how we can do that. And this conversation is not necessarily an easy one. And that's why professionals like me exist and others.
Yeah, thank you for that. And I want to say, again, a lot of dysfunctional households are monogamous. Many, many, many. If you're a bad parent, you're going to do that hooking up, single mom, or in a marriage with a husband. Please, people. Okay, let's get to the L word, and we could close with that really quickly. I don't think it exists. I think that you have a great affinity. You share great affinity with someone while you are coupled with them. We fall in and out of this love thing very easily. I think it's sort of like God. I don't think people they keep using, that joke, you keep using that word. I don't think you know what it means. That's what I think about the word love. I don't think it means what people think it means. One of the best men I've ever had in my life he refused to say the word. He was against saying the word love. He didn't believe in it. And look at here. I am 20 years later still remembering him and how he was with me. So I personally don't believe in it. I also think that people don't like that it's conditional. It's very transactional. It's very conditional. I love you if, right? And if you cheat on me, I don't love you anymore. So did you love the person at all, right? It's very conditional. But I'll pass the mic. Lily, you brought it up.
I wanted to hear. I wanted to hear Tazima because we had
Okay.
because we had the stream about it before, so I was just interested to hear it from a professional. Yeah,
it was a great stream too. Oof.
So love, so adult love. I just want to be 100% clear about this. Adult love is conditional. Adult love is conditional, and what I mean by that is that we get to choose now. Children, the love of children, probably pretty close to unconditional as you can get. When you
Agree.
birth a child or a child is yours, it's a possibility that you can experience that parent-child unconditionality of like, I will do everything up to and including giving my life for you. Got it. Cool. This is my personal opinion / professional opinion.
I love it.
I deeply believe that it is healthy to have conditional love. I don't think that anything goes. I don't think because different people come into relationship. When you're in relationship with someone, you're in relationship with their baggage. And the degree to which their baggage has been dealt with will determine at least part of the quality of your relationship. And that goes for you too. A lot of people during COVID, during the shutdown, we're like, oh, my relationship changed. No, you found out the truth about your relationship.
You had to deal with each other.
You got to deal with each other. There was no option. Y'all were locked in together. So it revealed what the relationship actually was. Things that people weren't talking about, frustrations and resentments people weren't talking about. So in some cases, that togetherness created more resentment, or it got to a boiling point where they could no longer be together. And a lot of people broke up. And then there were other people who were like, wow, we're here together. I haven't seen you in forever. This is awesome. This is the reason why I really like you. Let's keep doing this. Okay. So it wasn't all heartbreak. But I think the real takeaway here of what we can do with love is really find someone who's into stuff that you're into, wants to give the things that you're interested in receiving. Match it up a little more and don't just like be choosy. Actually talk before you get into a committed relationship. Talk about what love means to you. What does it mean? Because love for some people means that you're going to do this and this and this for me, or this is how it's going to be, and we're going to hold hands in public and kiss in public. And another person might be completely private, or I need you to tell me the things. So that also, what is your love language? If you are a touch person, but the person that you're with is touch averse for whatever reason, it has nothing to do with you. You won't feel loved because they don't touch you. Please understand, the way that love is determined is by how you receive love. And if you cannot talk about what that is for you, if you can't communicate, hey, these are the things that help, I feel in love when this is happening, or I need XYZ, or I need these conditions of safety so that I can open my heart to you.
Yeah, because I will never, really quickly, Joe, I will never, ever again date a man who's not affectionate. That is off the table. That's the biggest deal breaker I have. That cold thing, like, well, my parents didn't hug me and I don't hug anybody. Not for me. I do want to give a little pushback to Zima. We haven't had any. We're getting along too good up here, okay? So I got a little bit of pushback. When we think about children and quote unquote unconditional love, and that's the closest we get to love, I just think that's survival. Because if a mother passed away and I grabbed that baby, right? That baby's gonna love me famously. It's trying to survive is what it's trying to do. I mean, even animals protect their young, right? Isn't that a survival thing, not a love thing? Yeah, we feel this affinity, but it's because we're surviving and we need our offspring to survive. So is that really love, quote unquote, or survival?
So it's both. It's both. And a significant aspect of love is our bonding hormones. Okay. We are there's a chemical bond that occurs with neurochemistry. Okay. So some of it is like, yeah, I like you. I have an affinity for you. And if, for example, I've heard the adoption stories where, or someone's sister dies and then they take the child on and it was just is meant to be, like, or they were estranged and they just found out and like, oh my goodness. So all of that is possible. And I think unconditional love is probably possible between adults, but the fairy tale that we've been sold is that every couple should be able to achieve unconditional love, or else and if you can't, then your relationship ain't shit. Like that's, I want us to put that down. I think that's sort of a bonus round. It's kind of like sexual compatibility. Like you might meet someone who's super duper way into the very things that you're into. Awesome. But it doesn't always happen like that. It doesn't, there may be conditions or physical illness that may come up and shift some things. Aging, your knees don't work too well anymore. And so, the humping and pumping is a little more difficult.
No hydraulics for you.
Right.
Look, I've said in the past, the main component that ruins most marriages is love.
Oh.
Not marrying for love.
You coming out swinging.
Gonna get divorced.
You coming out swinging, Harvey.
Yeah,
no,
you know what?
I think the concept of love is the reason why a lot of relationships don't fucking work.
Elaborate.
And I like what Tova said, because that's kind of like what I was thinking. And not the last comment, but the one where she says love language is secondary. The question is, can he provide, lead, and protect? So that's how I look at it. Like, let's discuss
for those who want that.
And that's what I was about to go with this. Is the first thing is discuss what the fuck you need and want, right? Both people need to discuss what they need and they want, because to me, relationships are transactional, right? And then if love comes from that, that is a bonus. That's great. That's, that's wonderful. But to me, to partner up with someone is for upward mobility and for safety and security and for to expand and to grow, right? And if love comes from it, that's wonderful. That's a great bonus. So
let me explain what I just said, because a couple of people want me to elaborate. When I said that love in many ways leads to the ending of many marriages and relationships, period, is because oftentimes when human beings immerse themselves in love, they have a very they tend to create this very utopian version of what their relationship should be, or this very utopian idealistic version of what their partner should attain to be, an idea that no human being, not even you, can attain to, can actually live up to. And then my personal belief is that as long as you have, I guess, a practical concern, dare I say, care for another person, and so on, then yeah, you can have a healthy relationship. Why? Because you get to exist in the space objectively. You're constantly, when your eyes are constantly swelled up, filled with love and these crazy expectations, you don't look at the situation objectively. And when I'm saying not only objectively for your other partner, you don't look at the situation objectively for yourself. You start doing things like you sit on your ass, you get lazy, you let yourself go, you do whatever and so on and so forth, not knowing and understanding that other person. What if that other person has a high sex drive, is no longer attracted to you, and they're saying to themselves, oh, this person should sit here and accept me for this, even though I now no longer look like anything what they were attracted to before. They should accept me because they love me. And you're setting yourself up for a failure. A lot of people, dive deep in love and they set themselves up for failure.
I agree. I just want to make a distinction on the language that you're using, which I think what you're saying is fantastic. And I think it's the idea of love that gets in the way, not love that is companionate, partnership type love. That's what the partnership, companionate love of, like, I'm down for you and you're down for me and we're going to do this thing together and we're talking about how we're going to do it together. That's the magic. That's the greatness.
But let me hold on, George. Let me grab this super chat. Thank you so much for the super chat. Fahim Jackson says, conditional love guarantees we continue to better ourselves as a society. Putting conditions on people forces competition. Unconditional love to me breeds complacency and mediocrity.
I'll agree with that. Very well put.
I agree with that as well.
What I liked about what you said earlier, talking about love, is one of the things that you said, or I didn't hear you say a lot of, is that love is a feeling. What I heard a lot was love is a decision. It's a conscious, voluntary decision that you make with your will to love somebody or to commit to somebody. Feelings do play a role into it, but I think and just get your take on this real fast, is that, do you think people spend too much time on their feelings? I don't feel this, I don't feel that. And because feelings can be transient, right? You have ups and downs in a relationship, and it's kind of a
I think actually the commitment is the choice. And then the question is, what are you committed to? The way I hold it in relationship is that I think every human being should have a relationship vision. And what I call a relationship vision is, hey, these are my ideals, and be ready to communicate what that is. Like, hey, I want to have for example, I want to have a stable home. I only want to live in one place versus someone who wants to be a traveler or whatever, like lifestyle stuff. Ways that you like to be touched, like Jen was saying with the affection, all of those pieces, that's a conversation. But committing to the vision gives you a more sober way to connect with each human being that shows up if you happen to be dating. If you connect with someone and commit to just that person, but for example, the worst situation is someone who has a level 10, what I call a level 10 attraction to someone, where they're like intoxicated by the person. intoxicated, infatuated, where they will erode their own standards in order to be with that person. Terrible situation, but they can feel all that love and oh my goodness, and I'll do anything, but it's dangerous for themselves, which is why I really like
Haran?
Haran? No. Fahim.
Oh, Fahim Jackson.
Yeah, I really like that comment because of the, hey, like, let's stay sober about this. Let me make that choice. So the emotions are going to happen. Like chemistry, real chemistry does happen. I am in an experience where real chemistry is happening. Okay. So that I didn't have a choice necessarily about that, but I did have a choice about what I am going to do. I continue to have a choice and a conversation about, hey, this is what's going to make this relationship sustainable for me. I can do this. I can't do that. And so it's a constant negotiation between two consenting human beings, two consenting adults. We have language. We can make these conversations. Okay.
Right.
So it's
and
not
when they get in alignment, then the real feelings flow.
You need to, and women specifically need to feel emotionally safe in order to actually open up. Men also need to feel emotionally safe in order to kind of be in it and actually like navigate in it.
Yeah. Well, you really kind of you really did clarified for me about that process and everything. So yeah. Thank you.
So it's interesting. Greg Jolly says length of a relationship is fully dependent on finding someone who can fucking stand to be around you. I'm not doing fucking standing to be around anybody. No, not attractive to me. Greg Jolly also says, are we talking relationships or marriage? Marriage is a literal contract, which is a business transaction between two entities, combining assets. Also, back on the love thing, the reason why I think it's just a feeling and feeling decision, tomato. It's because it's fleeting. We all have exes here that we wouldn't piss on if they were on fire. And we told all our friends and our family and told them, we love you. We love you forever till death. And then now it's like, who you? I don't know where he is. I don't, we feel absolutely nothing. We are blank. And that's where my non-belief comes from. Completely blank on the ex, like completely blank.
I think I'm the ex in that.
Yeah,
situation.
I'm sure. Oh, I'm sure you are. Thank you for the super chat. Ruzbe Rahbar says, I believe that women need to be open, honest, and vulnerable to the men they say they want. And men need to be direct, upfront, and honest on what they're looking for. Hence, date with intention. Yeah, that is what we've been talking about all night. Date with intention. What do you want? We've all seen The Notebook. What do you want? But what do you want? With that said, lovely, lovely panel, amazing panel tonight. So proud of this show. Tazima, you were an amazing addition, but I knew it. Okay. I knew it. I can feel it. And even way better than I even thought. I just liked what you said in that comment. I was like, ooh, fire. But way better. We are so lucky to have you this evening. Chat, thank you so much for the super chats and for holding us down. Please follow us all. I'm removing the banner so you can see our names. We all have our own social medias. We are very easy to find. All our names are quite unique. You know, I'm on the block with Jen, Lily at YB Limited, Tazima Paris, Instagram, Saint No Saint, and YouTube pages. We all have YouTube pages. George, I know yours is coming. Haran DeMarco, who's also a musician. And we're all doing the damn thing. You know, follows, subscribes, our currency. Speaking of, please hit that like and subscribe on your way out for Mama. If you missed anybody's name, just rewind. Don't forget, you can support the show after the fact. If you really enjoyed this stream, buy Mama a smoothie. My Cash App is also on the block with Jen. It is scrolling at the bottom. And come back tomorrow. We got something for you all week long. If you have topic suggestions, hit me on the block with Jen at Gmail. Always check out my community section for what we got coming up next. Good night. Be good. And if you can't be good, be careful. All right, guys. Good night.
Good night.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Absolutely.